Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Making Sense of the Media. In this age of disinformation, information overload, and information warfare, it's never been more important to make sense of not just what's happening, but the media itself. So, Making Sense of the Media is a new series that helps community members practice making sense of information flows surrounding current events. One of the ways we do that is through simulations. So, today we have a simulation where the US government is versus Amazon. And we will start with Representative Adams, who is not a huge fan of Amazon. All right, go ahead.
And I'm questioning Jeff Bezos, by the way, just played by Jacob.
Big deal. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm starting off with an opening statement, and then we'll jump into questions. So, on July 4th, 1776, the United States of America was freed from an oppressive monarchy. America was then founded on the principles of justice, equality, and above all, freedom. However, in the 21st century, tyranny has taken another form. Don't get me wrong, Amazon deserves to be profitable and successful, but there must be competition for the sake of accountability, consumer protection, and a healthy democracy. One man, one company, has a hand in nearly every aspect of American life in the name of convenience and crony capitalism. Amazon conquers and acquires everything in its path. Today, I am here to ask the question, where do we draw the line? Need household goods, clothes, electronics, and more? Amazon.com. News, The Washington Post. Movies, Prime Video, MGM. Music, Amazon Music. Books, Audible. Gaming, Twitch. Food, Whole Foods. Mobile applications, Amazon Web Services. High-speed internet, Amazon Satellite Internet Service will launch in 2021. Spaceflight, Blue Origin. Security, what about Amazon's defense contract with the US government? But even worse, it's so hard for people to see this truth. We are told that this is making our lives better. You see, today, tyranny has a new face. But instead of this king calling us his people, we are his customers. And while we had the ability to break free in 1776, the people are powerless to what is not only the definition of monopoly, but the definition of imminent danger to the future of the free world. Now it is our time to act. As elected officials, it is our obligation to make the difficult yet necessary and courageous decision of defending the free market and capitalism, just as our leaders have done before with the Sherman Act, the Federal Commission, and so many more that saved our nation from oppressive, monopolistic rule and helped give so many people the American dream. In today's hearing, when making decisions and detecting lies, remember this truth. When corporations act like ruthless, despotic governments, we must treat them like one. Thank you. Okay, now for questioning. Should I call you Mr. Bezos? How should I refer to you?
King Bezos.
Is Mr. Bezos cool? Can I call you Mr. Bezos?
Yes, Representative Adams.
Okay,
Mr. Bezos is valid.
All right, so let's start off with some history. As you all may know, in the late 1800s and early 1900s, J.P. Morgan was one of the most powerful men in the world. He had the ability to influence industry, government, and public life. The American people and politicians alike recognized that this danger with the unchecked power. And in 1902, he was finally held accountable when then President Theodore Roosevelt instructed his Justice Department to break up his holding company on the grounds that it was an illegal combination acting in restraint of the trade using the Sherman Antitrust Act. This may leave you wondering, what made J.P. Morgan so dangerous? Well, many were concerned because J.P. Morgan had immense power and influence over 4 industries: steel, railroad, shipping, and electricity. There was a recognition that when one man had billions of dollars in profit and multiple industries and crushed competition and innovation along the way, that it was a threat to not only the free market, but our democracy as a whole. So today, I can't help but wonder, why are we letting someone who makes J.P. Morgan look like Toys R Us get away with having a forceful hand in every aspect of American life? Mr. Bezos, I have a series of yes or no questions to ask you. First, does Amazon Incorporated have a significant or considerable influence in retail?
In retail, no, we only compensate 3.6% of the annual retail market in the US. In fact, Walmart still holds a significantly larger share than us.
In 2020, online retail platform Amazon reported a net income of 21.33 billion US dollars. That is not considered a considerable influence in the retail industry. How is that not?
No, Representative.
21 billion dollars.
3.6%.
No, $21 billion is a very significant amount of money, at the least considerable. Okay, does Amazon Incorporated have a significant or considerable influence in news and information?
Yes, we do hold a great stake in the Washington Post.
Okay, thank you. Does Amazon Incorporated have a significant or considerable influence in food and grocery?
Well, we do have a large stake in Whole Foods.
Yes, okay. So does Amazon Incorporated have a significant or considerable influence in entertainment, including movies, TV, and gaming?
We do offer through subscription through Amazon Prime access to entertainment and media.
Yes, Prime Video, MGM Studios, Twitch, Audible, and more. Does Amazon Incorporated have a significant or considerable influence in technology?
And which ways, Representative Adams?
In many ways. What about Amazon.com, Amazon Alexa, Amazon TV, and more?
Yes, we do offer various products and services through Amazon.
Okay, thank you. Does Amazon Incorporated have a significant or considerable influence in space exploration?
We are correlated with Blue Origin, a space project.
Okay,
However,
does Amazon Incorporated have a significant or considerable influence in government? Lobbying, any sort of influence like that, significant or considerable?
I wouldn't be able to answer that question, Representative Adams.
Oh, so lobbying for Blue Origin, $625,000 so that you can have $10 billion contributed to your space program is not considerable influence? Or yes or no?
I'd call that some influence. However, it's minute compared to other kinds of influence exerted on the government by corporations.
Thank you. So this is a rhetorical question for the audience and the rest of Congress, but a practical one for Amazon. What is left? What has been untouched by Amazon? And more importantly, where do we draw the line? So my next question for you, Mr. Bezos, would be, if Amazon has the ability, why would it ever stop growing or expanding? Does Amazon have any plans to slow down?
Representative Adams, at Amazon, our dedication is to the benefit of consumers.
So, okay, so you don't have any plans to like stop expanding? If like no one's going to interfere, you're not going to like slow down, take things down a notch or anything?
So far as I've seen it, Amazon has contributed
if it benefits
to
the customer,
customers.
you're not slowing down, right? Not slowing down at all.
If it helps the customer, it appears that that's the right thing to do.
So if it helps the customer, they're going to keep going, not going to slow down, keep expanding. Okay, so on the note of Amazon virtue signaling that they have any public interest whatsoever for the customer, Mr. Bezos, you recently backed the Biden administration's proposal to raise the corporate tax rate from 21% to 28%, which would help pay for the American Jobs Plan and infrastructure bill. Seeing as this would seemingly raise the amount of money Amazon has to pay to the US government, why do you support a raise in the corporate tax rate? Oh, it seems like you're muted.
Raising corporate tax rates to help the government and the people, that's the thing that Amazon's dedicated to. We've always stood for a relentless dedication to the American people and all facets of life,
Okay.
especially.
You see, this is really, really interesting to me because according to company filings, in 2020, Amazon only paid about a third of the 21% corporate tax rate. But at the same time, you need infrastructure to run the company. Amazon, more than any other major tech company, needs infrastructure. Accessible roads and bridges and a functioning post office are critical to fulfilling Amazon's promise to pleasing the customers and delivering packages on time. And Amazon can continue to keep its prices low by using fancy lawyers and loops in the system to pay a third of the rate, while the corporate tax rate actually falls on smaller corporations without these amenities, and ultimately on those smaller corporations' customers, giving Amazon an even greater monopoly and ability to expand. You receive immense benefit with little contribution. Is that inaccurate?
Representative Adams, please remember that Amazon has dedicated billions of dollars into its own independent infrastructure at its own loss. These dedications we've had.
you say that you want to raise the corporate tax rate so that you can benefit the people. But in 2020, you only pay a third of the corporate tax rate. So the raise hardly affects you at all, while it falls on smaller corporations who will ultimately have to raise their prices and fall on their customers, and you will get to expand even more, increasing your monopoly over the market. How is that inaccurate?
Representative Adams, please remember that all this money that Amazon has dedicated to its infrastructure and the programs that it has benefited the American people and various postal outlets. We've actually been the heart and soul of the US Postal Service for many months now. Additionally, the corporate tax that Amazon pays are relative to its revenue. And Amazon spent so much time investing in its infrastructure and the process that it commits to that our taxes have been lower since all the money that we have goes back into the company. And it helps the customer at the end of the day.
Okay, no further questions.
Well, great job, both of you.
I'm sorry, Jacob. I'm sorry for being so aggressive.
No problem. Actually, I wish I'd learned some of those questions beforehand because I do have all these statistics I wasn't able to use.
That might be good, actually. Maybe there's maybe to have a balance between questions you know and questions you don't, so that there's some answers you're definitely super prepared for.
Yeah, for example, that one about Amazon only containing 3.9% of retail sales, I thought was incredibly poignant. And they do control 37.7% of online retail, e-commerce stuff. That's still not the 50% or more required by the definition of the US Department of Justice for a monopoly. I thought that was significant as well.
Yeah, I was looking up stuff like that I was gonna use against you, and I was like, oh crap, that would actually help them. So I did not include it.
So then going forwards, I would like to prepare an opening statement saying things like, Amazon doesn't fit the definition of a monopoly. For one, we have a very small percentage of the market share. Two, everything we do is actually for the benefit of the consumer, and therefore doesn't fit the definition by some Antitrust Act about the size of a corporation and its monopoly being defined as something that can hurt the consumer. Amazon's infrastructure has actually helped consumers over time. And then the last big argument that people have against Amazon, this is me still in my Amazon suit, is that Amazon shuts down third-party marketplaces, which is understandable. However, Amazon, they're charging the third-party marketplaces to use its services and infrastructure. I think that's reasonable. And I have another stab, I need to find it. Amazon doesn't force anyone to use its service. It just happens to have the best infrastructure because it's invested in that. I think that's valid. Where has my chief of staff gone? That being said, Representative Adams, what would you like to see Amazon do in the future? This might be a thing for the end of the conversation as well. If it is found to be violating certain antitrust acts.
Wait, so you're saying if it's found to be violating antitrust acts, if Amazon's found to be violating am I still in character or am I in Madison now? Am I just
Be Madison.
Well, I think that obviously if they violate antitrust acts, they should be prosecuted. A lot of that is based on enforcement, though. I watched a video and I can't remember the specifics about it, but basically a lot of those laws are in place, but it just depends on how the government actually enforces them. So I think obviously if Amazon were to violate them, they should be prosecuted.
Here's the thing, a lot of people don't recognize, and you did bring it up, Amazon has all this underground influence in infrastructure. For example, 38% of all online websites are based and hosted on Amazon's web services. Even the government has a contract with them. The thing is, some people are suggesting, this is me being Jacob again, not Jeff Bezos, that Amazon should be separated into different compartments, one being Blue Origin, one being infrastructure for like Amazon Web Services, and one being its online retail website section. I think that's doable. I think it's weird that we had to like make them different by force. That's kind of going to be difficult. And then one last thing I saw that was interesting is it's like if communists were to ever like have a victory, let me find it. Yeah, if Marxist revolutionaries ever seized power in the United States, they could nationalize Amazon and call it a day. I thought that was an interesting point about how Amazon like really does represent like everything that people want a government to do in terms of like infrastructure plus getting stuff out to the people. But
That's super interesting. Yeah, it covers so much. Really, like what you watch, read, eat, travel, security, internet. It's wild. It really is. And like what is Senator Bay is going to go to, right? Or no? Is that something? Is that different? Is it,
Yeah, we're waiting for Adam to get back.
um. Yeah, but it's interesting because it's hard to like legislate this, I think, but people there's one of the reasons why it's so scary to have someone that's influential in every relevant sector is because it harms like freedom of like criticism, like speech, and like makes it really hard for you to want to criticize Bezos because you might want to work for him as a like as part of his philanthropy work, right? Or if you're a nonprofit like that wants to get money from Bezos, you don't you Bezos is also a venture capitalist, so you might want to have an idea that he funds. Bezos is like owns Hollywood now, right? So if you want to be a movie star, right? If you want, he's also in the music space, right? And if you want to be the next James Bond, right? He literally owns MGM now. If you want to have a new health food product that you want in Whole Foods, you have to go through Jeff Bezos, right? So you could have a criticism of Bezos about one part of the things he does. Like, let's say you are a health food person that like wants to criticize, or I don't know. All right, let's talk about journalist. If you're a journalist that wants to criticize Bezos, but you might want a job at Washington Post, or you have friends at Washington Post, right? And so like there's any number of ways that um, he is basically he's effectively silenced his critics that want to make it in the establishment world.
Yeah, and I think it goes beyond just job prospects, right? It's hard to live, I guess, like the modern American life without somehow contributing to Jeff Bezos' empire, right? Like Amazon alone is like, it's hard enough to like resist the urge of like next day shipping and stuff like that. But even at that much, there's like Amazon, we mentioned Amazon Web Services, which hosts so many different apps and websites where you can be contributing and not even knowing. Whole Foods, just like there's just like so much. I mean, I talked about a lot of examples, but it's just you can't live an ordinary life basically without somehow helping Jeff Bezos get richer.
I guess while we're waiting, what would be a good next simulation? Anyone have any ideas? Anyone have like a current event that they are particularly think would be fun for people to role play as stakeholders in that current event?
One second, I'm checking the news.
Might be interesting. This might be hard, or I don't know. It's a good challenge, like to
What
play
if
to play Fauci.
what if we did one where I know that Biden's like figuring out what countries vaccine doses go to, like now that our vaccination rates are dropping? Like what if we had representatives from different countries like at a table about that? I don't know if they actually do that, but that's my thought.
Yeah, we would just want to do something that actually happens. I have no idea.
I have no idea either, which is why like I
Yeah.
brought it up. I don't know.
Yeah, if you want to look at, I mean, no pressure. If you want to look into like what there is to even debate about that stuff, yeah, that let us know what kind of simulation could come from that.
Oh, Jacob, that'd be so funny.
Trump versus Twitter. So would it be okay? It could be like a Trump lawyer and and Trump or whatever like suing Twitter or something like that.
That's like a dense one though. That's like, hey, what rights does the company have over what content that it hosts?
Look, I mean, these are all very tricky, right?
That might be cool.
What about like okay, so San Francisco's district attorney is getting a lot of heat for his um what his very strong views on like what the criminal justice system should be, and it's like leading to a lot of issues in the city. Although he still has some prominent supporters like the co-founder of LinkedIn who keeps funneling money to him. I'd be interested in seeing that. Like almost like that DA like oh what could be cool is like the re-election or the campaign where someone is running against that person. San Francisco DA, what's his name?
Maybe we could do like I like the whole concept of a re-election. Maybe we could do someone more well known. I know we could do some stuff in New York.
I mean San Francisco. I mean how's San Francisco not?
I guess I don't know.
I think there are a lot of senators making big decisions, whether it's about their reelection, especially in the Republican Party, whether it's about their reelection or the fact that they're retiring and now they have to pick like what they want to vote yes on and what they don't.
So what's the simulation though? There like the current conception of this is like kind of a conflict that is playing out like in real time. What is the conflict that we'd be able to simulate?
I think the conflict in the end is between the new and old Republican Party. Like, what am I running on, or what am I preserving? Right, like the older senators, for some reason I've forgotten all of their names, who are retiring right now. Right, like they have to choose: am I holding my old Republican Party values, or am I transferring to these new ones, even though I'm leaving?
I think that would be cool. So the simulation could be one of the. I mean, this wouldn't really happen in real life because they would just avoid the interview, but like a very tough interview of like asking hard questions about like what happened to your party, what do you believe in, what do you think the future is, um, you know what I mean? And just like imagine it's almost like a hearing, right? As it that wouldn't that and I don't think that would happen, but that would be cool for someone to have to prep for that and not make their party look bad, right? And not make them look bad and not make their party look bad, right? Or just whatever they're optimizing for. Mostly not making themselves look bad. Right. Does anyone want to play the person that Let's figure out a name of someone. Like, what Republican senators are retiring?
I think Roy Blunt is retiring. And so is Josh Hawley.
No, he's not retiring. He's young.
Oh, not Josh Hawley, the other one. The anti-Trump Republican. I've forgotten all of their names. We're at that point right now.
There's Roy Blunt, Rob Portman, Richard Shelby, Pat Toomey, Richard Burr. So I think it'd be good. It depends on how many people want to play the Republicans, but we could like just have one or two people pick. What if the simulation is like who would be like interviewing them? Let's identify the profile of the person that would like be interviewing them, grilling them.
So would this be like something on like a news station or no? Yeah, so it could be like MSNBC, CNN.
Okay, it could be like a 60 Minutes thing, like that type of vibe.
Oh, so not like someone partisan, like trying to make the party look bad, just like someone.
I mean, I think just hard questions will make anyone look bad. Like, will force. Yeah, I think there should be hard. I think there should be hard questions.
The thing is, like, it's a valid question to be asking. What does the GOP stand for now that it's kind of getting old? There's no more Trump, and I don't also want to see like the perspective of like a young Republican and like an older Republican represented by this interview. So whether we have it like the questioning of some like young Republican, like what's the future of our party, and like this older Republican having to answer. I almost want to have like some kind of a third party too, though, being like, what will the next wave of Republicans be now that these other ones are leaving? I still need to do some thinking about this.
So basically, are we thinking interviewer, old representative, and their new appointee like being interviewed? Is that what we're talking about? Just want to clarify.
Yeah, maybe we have like old retiring Republican, new young Republican, just that's running for the office, and like some interviewer, even like not comparing the two, but like juxtaposing the two, even.
I really like the idea of like it almost being like passing the torch. And like that actually makes it more like a real simulation because like a real like mirroring like a real event because the new person would need media coverage to like be taken seriously. And I think the interviewer should not be like someone that just like hates Republicans or whatever, but is willing to ask tough questions that will be asked on the campaign trail anyways, right? And then the objective for, I think both Republicans' objective is to, probably the first priority is to make themselves look good, but also be able to answer questions in a way that doesn't seem like complete BS, but also helps their party. Because they need really good answers to January 6th, basically all of the Trump era, right? George W. Bush, Iraq War, like, okay, so what is the what if it's not George W. Bush party? What is it, right?
Yeah, and I also think that like because this is so open-ended and broad, we should either give the Republicans the topics like we did today, or like the actual questions.
Yeah, you have to make a Chris Wallace impression. I don't. I'm not gonna. Does everyone know who Chris Wallace is? Does he still have Fox News? I don't know. He like, I mean, it's not. I don't. He asks like questions that he has. I think he's pretty fair.
I just don't think that like a Republican would agree to an interview with somebody who doesn't work at like a right-wing news source at this point.
Yeah, that's fair. Seriously, what happened to Adam?
He disappeared.
Do we think that Senator Bay could just grill Bezos again?
All right, I'm ready to put the hat on again.
Let's do it.
I'm kind of bummed because I think Adam prepared specifically for what Senator Bay was going to say.
I mean, we can just if he comes back, we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just run it.
Yep.
Okay, then I'll just begin. Thank you, Representative Adams, for beginning the hearing, and Mr. Bezos for your continued cooperation. So let's resume. The Amazon.com imperialism. Here's a monolith that isn't outcompeting, but squeezing the living daylights out of competitors, which zombifies local economies, refashions entire communities into customer demographics, and starves innovative startups that are key to human progress. The list goes on. But there's another distinction to make because this isn't an ordinary antitrust case we've got here, folks. Historically speaking, this marks a turning point in terms of legislature as we come to terms with the world we live in today. Through technology, modern society has far outgrown the laws, social norms, and human rights that govern us. We're living real time in an information civilization. In an information civilization, societies are defined by questions of knowledge. Who accesses data, who mines data, and who exploits data? I think we all know who it is. We thought that we search on Amazon, but now we understand that Amazon searches us, tracking our behavior, conversations, and facial expressions. Today, we're here to question how surveillance capitalism misconstrues the fundamental tenets of our democracy. Our internet age monopolies capitalize their hardware update. Now let's fortify our legislatures with a software update. So to begin, my first question will illuminate on recognition. And for context, recognition is part of Amazon Web Services, the tech giant's cloud computing division. It can use machine learning to rapidly compare an image captured from a person's social media account or from an officer's smartphone to look for a match from a database of hundreds of thousands of mugshots. In its statement, Amazon officials say that the company supports federal regulation for its algorithm-driven facial recognition software, known as Recognition, which has been placed on a one-year hiatus. Quote, "We hope this one-year moratorium might give Congress enough time to implement appropriate rules, and we stand ready to help if requested. Critics have been wary that using an algorithm to confirm who someone is can lead to cases of mistaken identity. Do you believe that Recognition, Mr. Bezos, is a safe form of technology to utilize, especially by Amazon?"
Well, Senator Bay, at the moment, we still are complying with federal regulations for where we can use software like Recognition. However, there's mass data aggregation in any web service you're going to use, whether it's Google or anything that Facebook offers. And Amazon doing this through its own services is just the same extension of what other programs are also using as well.
Unfortunately, it seems like Amazon noted that authorities will still be able to use the facial recognition technology to help rescue human trafficking victims and reunite missing children with their families. However, American intelligence and military officials have long used facial recognition software in overseas anti-terrorist operations, but local and federal law enforcement agencies inside the US have increasingly turned to the software as a crime-fighting tool. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has used the technology to scan millions of driver's licenses for possible matches. This technology isn't anything new and it hasn't seemed to work before. What makes Amazon different from our historical perspective? I'd like to supplement it with some extra information. Let's take a look at the perspective of Fight for the Future. It's a digital rights advocacy group, And it's also calling for an outright national ban on facial recognition technology and says Amazon's 1-year break appears strategic. Quote, they've been calling for the federal government to regulate facial recognition because they want their corporate lawyers to help write the legislation to ensure that it's friendly to their surveillance capitalist business models. The reality is that facial recognition technology is too dangerous to be used at all. A study from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology demonstrated that while men with lighter skin were often almost always positively identified, about 7% of women with lighter skin were misidentified, and up to 35% of women with darker skin were falsely identified. This definitely shows some bias in the technology in and of itself.
Senator Bay, this bias isn't like directly coded into the technology. It happens accidentally as a result of mixed searches and algorithmic issues caused by the algorithm operating as normal, but not being able to perceive certain differences.
Then from that, we probably can assume that if it isn't resolved within the 1-year hiatus, it would be too difficult to engage. I'll end this question with one more note. The Financial Times reported that a Microsoft facial recognition training database of 10 million images plucked from the internet without anyone's knowledge and supposedly limited to academic research was employed by companies like IBM and state agencies that included the United States and Chinese military. Among these were 2 Chinese suppliers of equipment to officials in Xinjiang, where members of the Uyghur community lived in open-air prisons under perpetual surveillance by facial recognition systems. Very bone-chilling information. So I think that concludes the end of the first question. I'll go on to the next one. According to Europe's top antitrust watchdog, the European Commission, a retired third-party merchant was forced to exit his seller business after Amazon allegedly copied its products down to the color palette, undercut him on the price, and took over the buy box for his listings, killing his sales. Amazon has long maintained that it doesn't look at individual sellers' data to build private label products because doing so would violate internal policies. The company has acknowledged, however, that it may refer to aggregate data in the process of building its own products. And the evidence we're seeing here supports that through aggregate data mining, Amazon has monopolized the 2 key sectors of e-commerce, marketplace operator and seller, to develop products hyper-customized upon consumer interaction with competitive sellers. Would or wouldn't this be considered anti-competitive behavior?
One thing to be noted, Senator Bay, is that Amazon, although we do have exclusive marketing channels, brands and sellers, even third-party sellers, don't have access to more data than platform members do. So remember, this aggregate data is available to third-party vendors in addition to Amazon vendors as well.
Interesting. Lawmakers concluded that Amazon's dual role of selling products on its own website and running a marketplace for third-party sellers creates an inherent conflict of interest that encourages Amazon to exploit its access to competing sellers' data and information. And it noted that Amazon publicly describes these sellers as partners, but behind closed doors, the company refers to them as internal competitors.
Senator Bay, please be aware that Walmart and Sears and various other companies do have their own in-house brands, in addition to being a third-place marketplace for other items.
I'd like to refer to a comparable company in the past. Let's look at Henry Ford, everyone. So Henry Ford, despite exploiting his monopoly, brought so much value by democratizing the automobile. Amazon is a peddler that primarily exists to collect information. Customers bring value. Customers are the most valuable asset of monopolies, and through this asset, the peddler diagnoses what others bring to the table, exploits this privacy of data, and suffocates free market competition through a carefully formulated iteration. If this isn't the pinnacle of anti-competitive behavior, I'll leave this question as it is. So on to the third one. In his 2020 letter to shareholders, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos said the company needs to do a better job for its employees and vowed to make the e-commerce giant the world's best employer in his new role as executive chairman. The letter comes days after Amazon beat back a historic unionization effort by workers at one of its warehouses in Bessemer, Alabama. How does this dissonance speak to the claims Amazon makes versus the shameless violation of workers' rights and propaganda against unionization, which serve to set the standards of education, skill levels, wages, working conditions, and quality of life for workers, aka the fundamental traits of good employment?
Well, for one, Senator Bay, please remember that Amazon is the #2 biggest employer in the United States. We have a dedication to our employees and our customers, and we need to do a balance of satisfying both of them. And so there have been different measures in place to, one, optimize the efficiency of our infrastructure and satisfying customers, and two, in aiding and assisting our employees. We're doing our best for both. However, there's been certain budget cuts and requirements that mean that we can't satisfy both requirements to the full extent that we would want to. So it's a work in progress, as we stated in our letter to shareholders.
In that case, I believe that you have fulfilled your duty in quantity, but let's take a look at quality. The current wage is $15 per hour, and livable wages and benefits for American workers are not going to put a significant dent in the $1 trillion net worth of the company or the $190 billion worth of its owner. America's immense wealth and income inequality have left many workers behind, and not just at Amazon. America has the highest percentage of low-wage workers among several major industrial nations, according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Around 32 million workers earn less than $15 an hour, and only 39% of Americans say that they have the money to pay for an unexpected $1,000 expense like an emergency auto repair. Amazon does pay a starting hourly wage of at least $15, and full-time employees receive health benefits, but clearly this is not enough. Income inequality promotes anti-competitive behavior by consolidating wealth to a powerful few, allowing them leverage that goes beyond Amazon. Beyond lobbying, Amazon and Google spent $7.5 million lobbying politicians in the first 3 months of 2021, and Amazon was a heavier spender of the two. This is frighteningly reflective of democracy's antithesis, an economic authoritarian tyranny.
Let me think for a second here. So for one, the $15 an hour wage at starting is higher, significantly higher even than the national minimum wage. That's actually a very significant thing, considering we are the second biggest employer in the entire United States. Additionally, we do provide health services, which is also not present at many employers, making Amazon actually a better employment option for thousands of Americans than other local opportunities in terms of revenue, in terms of pay, and in terms of benefits. Additionally, as members of Amazon's extensive workforce, like they do have access to other kinds of services provided by Amazon. So Amazon, as a company employing people, is a good place to work for. Although it could definitely be better, it's not bad compared to the national average. In fact, it's doing a good job moving things forward.
Meanwhile, giant corporations continue to rake in huge profits buoyed by the pandemic. Amazon sales jumped by 38% to $386 billion in 2020, and its profits nearly doubled to $21.3 billion. And Jeff Bezos, the world's richest individual, is worth $196 billion. So despite Amazon's booming profits, the company, like many other retailers, provided very limited hazard pay to its workers during the pandemic, boosting their pay by just $2 an hour and only for a few months. So hopefully those efforts are raised in the future. And I believe this concludes my section of the hearing. Thank you for cooperating, Mr. Bezos.
Thank you for the good question, Senator Bay.
Cool. Anyone have feedback for Madison, Jahi, or Jeff? Jacob.
Can I just say this is like the best thing I've done all day. This is so much fun. This is like Model UN, but like better, if that's possible.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta do things that are like fun and like feel relevant, right? Because developing into a civic superhero, like it's it's something that you have to just keep doing all the time, really. And if it's not fun, like it's not gonna be sustainable. So it's kind of up to it's kind of up to us to pick which simulations we want to do so that it stays fun, right?
That's the thing, like Rafe Kelly, who's like a parkour athlete, like he just talks about like the importance of play all the time, like making things fun so you keep on doing them. Like he uses fitness as his main example, where being on a treadmill for 2 hours isn't gonna like be rewarding in the same way that like being in the park with your friends, messing around is. And so we need to keep these sessions like interactive and engaging so that like we feel motivated to come back and do them again. So I'm actually pumped to see what our next one is going to be. I think we'll continue to refine also the way that we set these up and prepare each side so you get more of a debate going instead of just Jayhe's going to raise some facts, Matt's going to raise some facts, and like I have to kind of like work with that tiny bit that I can. But that's also my bad a bit. I should have communicated with you guys beforehand about what I should have good answers to, because actually like in my own life I'm also kind of like anti-Amazon, although I do like have a Kindle and like get stuff from Amazon all the time. It's like it's hard to create a counter argument for these things.
Yeah, you did a really good job in an extremely tough position. Even like when you stepped in for Adam and we're having to answer Jayhe's questions, I thought you did an amazing job, way better than I would have done.
Okay. Anyone want to be the Republicans for the next one?
I can work with Madison again, or like for either side.
I was like, I have low bandwidth this week, so I cannot participate in the next one, but I'll
Yeah.
be there to watch.
Okay. Would you be down to Jayhe? Would you be down to do it with Ash?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Let's
so
do this.
You can decide amongst yourselves who's who, the older or the younger, and you can okay. You two can decide if you want to make up an old Republican about to retire, or pick a real one. Let's see. Probably a real one, right? Probably a real one.
I definitely recommend you guys choose a real one so that we actually have something based off of their ideals and their history.
Right,
It'll
right.
be easier than creating an own example.
Right,
Good
right.
point.
Record of voting and stuff. Okay, cool. So, I'm thinking. Does anyone want to
Well, we
be
also-
Chris Wallace? No, not you, Jacob.
Wait, what?
Anyone want to be the interviewer? Crystal, do you want to be the interviewer? That's like asking about the future of the party and.
Oh, is that for right now?
No, that's for next week.
Oh no, next week is my vacation week.
It depends. I have some things going on, so it kind of depends on what day you do it.
So we could do it the same day next week, Thursday.
Yeah, no, I can't make it.
What about Friday?
Let's see. I'll let you know ahead of time because I really don't know because I have a lot of stuff going on the next week, so I'll let you know beforehand.
Okay. Let's just.
Yeah, why don't you drop a message in like the media channel and see if anyone can make it, and if people can't, I can be back up.
Okay. And all of you are basically all of you are out of school now, right? No? Really? Okay. So Jacob, when you're out, you'll be able to do more during the day.
Yes. When I get out, I'll be working at a couple of places, but in the afternoon, especially Eastern time, I should be open to do a lot of stuff.
Okay. Let's just pick a time, and then we'll figure out who's doing what. Does Jacob, will you be able to attend if it's like 4 p.m. Eastern, or no? Is that too early?
When? Next Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay, so my school gets out at 3:30. From the bus, I get home at like 3:55, so I'll be able to attend for sure. I might not have my camera on for the first part.
Let's do 4 p.m. Okay, I'll set it up. Thanks everyone for coming. That was really fun. Let's keep doing these.
Okay, it's gonna keep on getting better too.
Yep. See ya. Bye.
See you guys next time.